Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for your time. I wanted to go ahead and give you a little update again. You know, I thought I'd go ahead and look at the full coronavirus video for you, and that's a really long, tedious video. And I think if I just pick the pieces out of that, you can get a little something from it every day. You know, I've been listening to Donald Trump for a long time, and I know how he thinks, I know how he speaks, I know how he talks. You know, I pick up his hints, and that's really what I'm gonna look for. You know, he's subtle, not like the New World Order where they just tell you what they're gonna do 5 years in advance. You know, and make movies about it. Have you ever been to Netflix lately? There's a lot of things about viruses and stuff, the flu, and it's creepy, you know? It's like what would happen if it was really bad, you know? I don't even want to think about that. Anyway, so let's look at some stuff that the Whitehouse released today, so we can just give you the highlights. Let's see what Donald Trump's talking about.
Identify individuals who can donate convalescent plasma, thus providing potentially life-saving antibodies to American patients. Dr. Hahn will be providing you with an update on these developments in a few moments. He's done a great job at the FDA. We continue to gain ground in the war against the unseen enemy, and I see light at the end of the tunnel. I actually see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. And we're starting the process. We're starting a very, very powerful, important process. You see that people are getting very anxious. They want to get going. They want to get back to their jobs. They want so well.
I think I missed what I wanted
I
to say.
said from the beginning that no American who needs a ventilator would be denied a ventilator, and we have kept that promise all over the United States. Think of that. Other countries are desperate for ventilators.
We're now sending
because they don't have a
ventilators
ventilator.
all over the
I've
world.
asked
If you want a ventilator,
Andrew,
real cheap,
if we could bring
we
the
lead
comfort
the
back
world. We've cornered the
to its
market.
base in Virginia so that we can have it for other locations. And
Yeah,
he
Cuomo.
said we would be able to do that. Javits Center has been a great help to them, but we'll be bringing the ship back at the earliest time, and we'll get it ready for its next mission, which will, I'm sure, be a very important one also. But it was.
I just wanted to show you that
it was an honor.
the home testing kit
They reconverted it after it got there into
was invented
handling
already.
an event that they were
I thought that was
not
cool.
expecting to be handling. The FDA has now authorized more than 50 diagnostic tests, including, as of late last night, the first test that a patient can take home.
Okay.
You can take it at home, and it's highly accurate. LabCorp
I thought
intends
that
to
was
make
cool.
the home collection
Okay, so we're
kits
already
available
going
to
to lead the
consumers
world
in
right
most
there
states
in that.
with a doctor's order in the coming weeks. We also have 4 different antibody tests already authorized. Tests will help identify individuals who can
Don't you see what he's doing?
donate convalescent
He's using this
plasma,
crisis to his advantage.
thus providing
He's
potentially
building
life-saving
companies
antibodies
right
to
now for the whole
American
world.
patients.
All
Dr.
these
Hahn will be
innovations
providing
that are
you with an
happening
update
right
on these
now, they're only happening
developments
in
in a
America.
few
They
moments.
can
He's done
only
a
happen
great
in
job at the
America.
FDA.
Yeah, great job. Okay, so boy, he's a good cheerleader. Even the people who are just crazy, he's cheerleads for them. You know what? And so here's another good example of how he's going to use this thing to, I say his advantage. You know why I say that? Because he's always in re-election mode. Always. Is he not? He's a beast. He's a machine. But here's gonna work to our advantage, to the United States Americans' advantage. This is so sweet. Look at this deal he figured out already.
By banks of $1 billion and less, 60% by $20 billion and less, and the big banks also. We want everybody to participate.
He's
There's
the
now a
coolest
lot of
nerd.
money back in the program, and we look forward
the
to all
world's
these small
coolest nerd.
businesses getting access to funds.
love
Brett, it's
that
great
guy.
to see you.
Look at
here.
him.
Thank
He's
you,
so-
Secretary. Do
Brett
you
Baer
know,
is out there.
estimate how long this
The
is going
Brett
to
Baer,
take, that
Fox.
other pot of money?
Look.
Obviously, went quickly. Do you
Bunch of empty
assume this
chairs,
is going
right?
to go quickly as well?
Social
Well, let me just say, I mean,
distancing
you know, kind of, we're
BS.
pleased with the success of this program and how quickly this
Yeah, I
got
see.
up operationally. We've put out more money in these SBA loans than in the last 10 years of SBA. So I want to thank all the banks that have worked really hard.
Did I miss that?
We knew that when we passed this originally, if there was full takeout, we wouldn't have enough money. That's why we've worked with Congress for more money. And this is going to, you know, we've already impacted about 30 million workers. There'll be a lot more. So we look forward to this having a big impact on the economy.
Yesterday, the president said he would look into the issue of felons, the criminal convictions, getting access to some of these programs. I was wondering if you have an update on that.
Sure. So we worked with the White House on this. There were actually much more onerous restrictions in the SBA program. There were people who had misdemeanors that weren't allowed to access the program. It was much longer than 5 years. And, you know, we very much, because of the criminal reform legislation that was passed and the work that's been done in the White House by Jared and others, we specifically designed the program, and the 5 years was significantly shorter than what had been done before. So we had already taken that into account.
Consideration of
For now, we're not going to do that. But I want to just emphasize, we did take this into account. There were a lot of people that wouldn't have access previously, and we changed those regulations.
Mr. Secretary, the president talked about a phase 4.
Here we go.
I know we all understand the circumstances and why businesses need this, but how many more phases can we afford to have, or can businesses expect to have? Do you see a phase 5, a phase 6, a phase 7? What's your thinking
Chill
on
out.
this?
Well, first of all, I very much appreciate the president's support for phase 4. He put out a tweet. As the president said, we would look forward to phase 4. Would be infrastructure. The president's been talking about
Yeah.
infrastructure since the
This is
campaign.
the good news right here.
Roads, bridges, broadband, especially broadband
Jobs,
now
jobs,
to rural
jobs.
America is very
Jobs,
important. We've talked about incentives for
Rebuilding America,
restaurants,
folks.
sports,
What a
entertainment,
sight
because
this
these
will be
businesses have been
to see.
impacted. The president has talked multiple times about a
Airports.
payroll tax cut. And we've also,
That's gonna be
we're talking
cool.
about, in
We
the
need
case of
futuristic
states, the
airports.
states, we've heard from the governors and the fiscal issues of the states. I think
So I thought
phase
that was
4
really cool.
will most likely be what we need. I think based upon what we're seeing and the reopening of the economy and the amount of
This is
money
funny
we're
when he
putting
asks
in,
how much. How
and
much is it
working
gonna
with the
be?
Federal Reserve on 13.3, I think you're going to see a lot of liquidity, and we look forward to business rebounding, especially later this summer.
Just real quick to follow up, and the PPP program, is this the last tranche of money you think you're going to need for small businesses?
We would expect this is the last tranche, but obviously we can always reconsider that. But this is a lot of money going out. Again, let me just be clear. You know, it's another 310 billion here and another 300 billion of loans. That's over 600 billion dollars putting into small businesses, which are the backbone of the economy. 50%
Do you know how much we
of the
spent
private
this month?
payroll.
How much do you think phase 4 will cost? And
You
will
don't wanna
include
know.
all of those things?
It'd be
payroll
premature
costs?
for us to comment what the cost is. We'll work with
Boom.
Congress on that.
We are
and
not going
we'll
to
consider
comment
it.
on the cost at all.
Infrastructure could be a big
Why? We
investment.
print money. We print money and we are out of
Taxpayer
control.
dollars that are going out the
Donald
door.
Trump knows
You
that.
fellas come to a different way
There's
of
no
thinking
such thing
about
as
things
money.
for oversight, independent.
Okay, they're just going to start arguing there. So, the last thing that really everyone's going to get really fired up about tomorrow, and I want to beat them to the punches right here. I'm going to just put it right before the 1 hour mark. Brace yourself.
Thank you, Steve. See you later. That was a nice question, actually. It's a good question, too. So the noble fight against the invisible enemy has inflicted a steep toll on the American workforce. As we all know, millions of Americans sacrificed their jobs in order to battle the virus and save the lives of our fellow citizens. We have a solemn duty to ensure these unemployed Americans regain their jobs and their livelihoods. Therefore, in order to protect American workers, I will be issuing a temporary suspension of immigration into the United States. You heard about that last night.
Okay. Guys, brace for impact. Because when he says stuff like that, they're going to blow it up and out of proportion in every single direction. I'm not skipping ahead. I'm here.
By pausing immigration, we'll help put unemployed
wanted to
Americans
talk
first in
about
line for jobs as America reopens. So
this.
important. it would be wrong and unjust for Americans laid off by the virus to be replaced with new immigrant labor flown in from abroad.
So what I'm talking about, though, right now is how Trump is using this to his advantage. You know what? The Dems are using it to their advantage. His numbers are down because they punch him every day, whether you believe them or not. It is what it is. You know, his numbers have gone down, and he's the human punching bag, and so he needs things that are going to work for him. So, you know, the home testing kit leading the way. We're gonna be able to sell these things. We're going to have the most. Now, I don't even think it's that serious. I don't even think he thinks it's that serious. But he's gonna milk this thing like he just defeated the world's biggest thing since the Spanish flu. That's what he's gonna do. He's never gonna say, "Oh, this was no big deal," even if he thinks it was no big deal. He's not gonna say that. He's not. He's too smart. He knows. I just conquered this thing. These numbers are all fake, and that's all going to come out later. But I thought he really engaged, and I'm going to watch him. You can watch him engage a reporter that obviously don't like him. He really wants to hit him. So let's see what he says to this reporter about this.
And I had a very good meeting.
Is there more federal aid that can be used to
Not him,
help
the next
governors who want to expand testing? Because we keep hearing that all
we
day
have
long.
$25 billion, and that's
Yeah,
a tremendous
Donald Trump wants to
amount of
test
money.
everyone.
That's,
Because if there
that's
are
far more money
millions
than,
of people
in my
infected
opinion,
that are
we'll need.
asymptomatic, well, the
And
death
again,
toll, or the
already
death-
we're testing
the-
more
the
by far than
mortality
any
rate
country. I think I read
becomes less
yesterday a
than the
report
regular
that we've
flu.
done more
Then
than
where
everybody
are
else,
we?
every
We
other
could
country
mass something
combined. And
for-
I think
for
our
something
people should be
really
getting a lot of
not
credit for
too
that.
harmful.
We've done a lot
Spreadable,
more
yes,
than everybody
harmful.
else combined, and you never hear
I
that
don't
in
think
the
so,
news.
guys.
It's unfortunate.
so.
Yeah, please.
Mr. President,
Totally
Pat
overrated
Ray's
this thing.
report
Let's
said
face
that
facts.
there are going to be some
Let's
exemptions.
just pick up the
We're
pieces
reporting right
from
now
here
that
and go
it
home.
only
Okay,
applies to
listen to this one.
employment, green cards for employment, but not for those for
Well, it is
immediate
green cards,
family.
but we're going to be reporting on that later on. It might be tonight or tomorrow. We'll give you an exact report.
You can say to people who may be worried about the ability to bring immediate family members into.
No, I think it's been covered pretty accurately in this case. I think most people know what it is, and some people will be able to get in. We have to do that, obviously, even from a humane standpoint. But there'll be some people coming in. But it's a strong order. It's a
He
strong
knows.
order.
He knows he's in for
involves
some
a
help.
big circle.
They're gonna
as
give
you
him-
know. Please.
Are immigrants who are already in the country, are they at greater risk of deportation based on this order?
I don't think so. They're not supposed to be here. You're saying they're here illegally? Is that what you're saying?
Well, for example, if an immigrant is here for a court order, right, are they at risk of deportation
Well, if a
based
court
on
order,
this?
then you have to go to court. So then the judge would make a determination as
Probably
to
a
whether
lot
or
of
not
them
they're going to be
because they
staying. But if
didn't
they have
go
a
to
court
court at
order,
all.
they won't have to leave until they go through that process. So we'll see what happens.
said,
But
"Hey, maybe
with the court, and there are
I
some
skipped
with
out
court
on that
orders.
court
That
order.
means they have a
That
trial
might keep
coming
me
up.
here in
Please.
this case.
So obviously, on the immigration executive order, you raised concern for a long time, even in good economic times, about immigrants taking Americans' jobs. So under what conditions would you consider lifting this halt on immigration?
Well, we're
And-
doing, yeah.
Or is this sort of an opportunity to address what you've seen as a problem for a long time?
Well, I think, look, right now, obviously, there's never been, we had the greatest economy in the world, and then one day we had to shut it down. They said, you have to shut it down. We did the right thing, because I
This
think
is
we
where he's
would've
gonna
had,
make his deal.
A million or
This is
maybe
where the
even 2
Dems
million,
could have
or
made a
maybe more
DACA
than that
deal,
deaths.
and
So,
they didn't.
we did the right
And they're
thing.
gonna be kicking
This would
themselves 'cause
pertain.
he's
when
gonna
you look
cut-
at it,
he's
right
got this
now,
ace
the
up his
last thing
sleeve.
we want to
Listen to
do
what
is
he
take
says about the
American
farms.
workers' jobs. It's one thing when we were essentially, they used to call it full employment, and it's another thing right now. Right now, we have people that have lost their jobs, and we hope they're going to come back and come back
think the
fast,
farms
and
is up
then
here.
we can have an even deeper discussion. You brought it up. No, the farmers will not be affected.
Okay, yeah, see right here. See,
They're
like, what about the farmers
I'm
workers?
wondering if some critics are saying that you are using the virus now in this crisis to follow through on that promise to reduce legal immigration.
No. Well, I want
Oh,
people
my God.
that are in
This
this
guy's
country, I want our
question
citizens to
was
get
so
jobs.
stupid.
I don't want them to have competition. We have a very unusual situation where something came in that nobody has seen for many, many decades. Probably 1917 would be the closest analogy if you look at it, when you look at the contagion, the kind of contagion we're talking about. So, no, I'm not doing that at all. I want the American worker and our American citizens to be able to get jobs. I don't want them to compete right now. There's a big difference when we have a full economy, and frankly, where some of the companies, we have many companies moving in where they need workers. That's a big difference between that and where all of a sudden a lot of people lose jobs.
As you know, a lot of farmers rely on seasonal migrant workers that
that's
come
not
in
going
on
to be
base.
affected.
Yeah, he
The
already
farmers will
thought
not
of
be-
it.
that's
He's
an
way ahead of
important
him.
point.
Watch
The
this.
farmers will not be
Seasonal
affected.
workers.
Yeah, that's a very important point. I mean, it's a great point, actually. I'm glad you brought it up. No,
So
the
how
farmers
can
will
the
not be
president
affected.
use
You're
They've
those
had cases
workers?
where they stopped everybody from coming in, and all the
Right.
farmers went out of business. They were literally out of business. You remember
'Cause
that?
he
Brett? It
knows.
was not so
You
long
have to.
ago,
Those
but they.
farms
It's
are
easy.
shut
You know, it's
down if
easier
all
to stop
those
everything cold
immigrants
than it is
aren't
to
able to work.
plan it so that the farmers have the people that have been working on those farms for many years, and that's what we're doing. No, the farmers will
See
not
that?
be affected by this at all. If any,
Listen to what he
brought
said.
it up. No, the farmers will not be affected.
you're
You know, they've had
will have
cases
farm
where they stopped everybody from coming in, and all the farmers went out of business. They were literally out of business. You remember that, Brett? It was not so long ago, but it's easy. You know, it's easier to stop everything cold than it is to plan it so that the farmers have the people that have been working on those farms for many years, and that's what we're doing. No, the farmers will not be affected by this at all.
How,
If
Mr.
anything, we're going to
President?
make it easier, and we're doing a process that'll make it better for those workers to come in, to go to the farm where they've been for a long time.
Okay, this process right here, whatever he just said, is how we should move forward on the immigrants that are already here. A quick, easy vetting process. We're going to have to get rid of some felons. Sorry if they're in your family, but that's that. Okay? And he's going to do that. He's got that ace up his sleeve all the time. He can make them legal right now, and he's going to use that to his advantage, folks. Okay, probably this video is getting a little long. Let's see. Let's see. Well, let's see what else we should cover. You know, there was one more thing in this briefing that you really need to take a look at. He's talking about people protesting, and then the two. Well, let's talk about protesters first. That's right.
Now, for a
next
question
here.
from a reporter who's out of the room, this is from the Washington Times, Tom Howell. Why hasn't the CDC, the federal government's main disease-fighting agency, had a more public-facing role amid the pandemic? It was holding regular media calls early on, but has not held one since early to mid-March.
Well, I can't tell you that.
Oh,
The
thanks
CDC
for that
has been
stupid
terrific.
question
We've
getting into
worked
my
with them
video.
very closely. They were very much involved, even
I
in
didn't
the
even understand
border decision that I made last night. And the directors doing a good job. And we
See?
have always,
Some
whether
just-
it's
he can just
Tony
blah,
or
blah, blah,
Deborah
right
or
back
Steve,
at him.
we have always a lot of people up. And certainly, as you've seen,
Say some
the
stuff. cut 'em
director's
off,
been here
move
a
on.
lot, right? He's been here, he's been sitting here, he's been speaking a lot. No, CDC is very much involved in everything we've done.
What,
Boom, he's gone.
More calls.
The director of the CDC said the protests against stay-at-home orders are not helpful. You've encouraged some of these protests. What are your thoughts on the CDC director saying that these protests are not a good
Well,
idea?
people, look, it's not a question of helpful or not. People want to get back to work. And I've watched some of the protests, not in great detail, but I've seen that, and they're separated. There's a lot of space in between. I mean, they're watching, believe it or
This
not.
is where the president is taking
they're
a
doing
plunge. He's
social
stuttering.
distancing,
He's
if
up
you can
against a
believe
wall
it.
right now. He
And
has
they are, and they're
no
protesting,
idea
but
how to
they're,
respond to this.
they're
Listen to how he
the
can
groups
speak
I've seen
without
have been
saying anything.
very much spread out. So I
They're
think
spread
that's
out.
good. Look, people, they want to get back to work. They got to make a
boom.
living. They have to take
He
care of their
just got
family.
right
They
off
don't
that
want to do
question.
this.
Now he's making
It's,
statements.
You know,
He did not
unfortunate.
answer that
Maybe one
question.
way or the other. Both are unfortunate.
He doesn't know what to say.
Both are unfortunate, but you have a lot
No
of
one knows
people
what
out
to
there that
say.
are anxious to get
At some
back.
point-
Yeah, please.
Surveys seem to be indicating that people are actually more concerned. More people are concerned
Life
about
is
the
risky.
virus.
This is
spread.
not
They
that
don't
dangerous
wanna
of a thing.
Go out.
No,
They don't
that's
want to
true.
go to work. They
They're
don't want
both.
to go outside.
They're two groups. They're big groups, both of them.
They've
The
got
question
it.
is, what good is it for these businesses that would reopen if the
Half the
customers
country is
are
scared.
Well,
The
at
other
the same
half is
time-
brave.
We have
What
to
do you
build
do?
back our country, and I'm going to make our country bigger and better and stronger, and we have to get started. There's a big difference, though, because people have really been through a lot, And they understand what to do now. Before, nobody had ever heard of a thing like this. Wouldn't you say? I mean, nobody ever heard of a thing like this. Distancing, social distancing, what does that mean? Washing your hands every 15 minutes, what does that mean? I mean, people had never
There's really
seen
nothing
or
you can
heard
say.
about anything like this. Now they really are.
Just
They've
don't
not
answer.
only have they done it, but they've done
What
a
do you
good job
do?
of it. But you're people, you can't break the country. At
Pay
some
whoever
point, you have to go
wants to
back.
stay home. It can't be
Now,
done.
Hopefully, the governors
This is
are
a
going to
serious
do, because I
problem.
want the governors, and I've always wanted that. You could call it federalism, you can call it whatever you want.
It's an
But the
attack on our
governors, I
economy,
want them to
folks.
do it. If we
A lot
see
of
them
people are
doing
in
something
on
we don't
this. You
like,
don't
we'll
wanna
stop it
hear
very
that,
quickly. But
He knows
they're doing a
it
good job. They're being careful.
very well.
Some of the
believe me.
governors,
He
frankly,
knows what we're up against.
they're in a position
Just
where they
using
can do it
overwhelming
sooner, or they can
force.
do
The
it
force
a
of
little
the
bit later,
people
and
is
that's
gonna set
okay.
this straight.
But
There's been
uh,
demonstrations
people
and stuff.
We'll
We'll probably do another video tonight. You know
they
what, this
need
one's going
money.
on.
They need help.
So I'm gonna let
We're
the
going to lose, and we
president
can't
rant
break our
on
country
and on
over
and
this.
on
We
and
can't
on.
do it. We have to
And
get
I'm gonna
going.
show you.
With that being said, some are going to go soon, and some are not. Yeah, in the back, please.
If I might just, pardon me, hair
I
salons,
got this shirt right here.
nail salons, tattoo
We
parlors.
built up the economy.
Dr. Birx,
We
can you
will
weigh
do it
in on this?
again.
Because the people of Atlanta want to hear
And
from
it's
you
got
as well, as
MAGA
much as
with
they
the
want to hear from
flag, and it says
governor.
President Donald
I
Trump.
think it's fine.
It's
How
at
do you
Teespring under
safely have hair salons and nail salons
Daddy
and tattoo
Brian's
parlors where people
merch.
where
Daddy Brian's
this is in
merch.
Georgia, where people have to inherently be close together.
If you want
I
to pick
think
one
what
up,
I've
you
been
know,
trying
there's
to
one that's
communicate over
plain,
the
one
last
with the
several
Daddy
days
Brian
is
logo.
it's really
There's a few
important that the
shirts to look
governors
at.
and mayors
Check
communicate
it out. Listen, I really
critical
appreciate
information
you
to their
guys stopping
communities
by.
and
Thank you
show
so
very
much.
clearly
We're gonna get this
the
done,
data.
right?
Remember,
That's
we
right.
wanted this data and
God bless.
evidence-based. The data